It's not that we're running out of hand. You do this so people can have a piece of it, right? Tracy's father, I need you to help here dot this dot next to the R here, okay?
Thank you.
There, right there.
Right next to it?
Well, you know, R, like a period. This was Tracy snitching on...
Everybody.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right. Did she snitch on her sister?
Brothers and sisters, that was it. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Fine. Okay. It's now official. Will always be. Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you all very much.
Maybe have a picture with Vietnam veterans.
Yes, of course.
So we have all the Vietnam veterans come and around the governor, please.
Here and take it here. And I don't know how that girl's going to decide who gets these pins. How many do we have here? How many of these veterans do we have here? Matt Lee. We need to. We got to make sure we get a pen for everybody. Good. How you doing? See you. I know it. I've been busy a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. Me too. Colonel, we got to make sure that we can do this somehow up in the office so we can get all the people that you want pens, okay?
Okay, Governor.
We got to figure that out.
Let's give Tom Moe a hoorah! Hoorah!
A question for Tom. God Bless America, the knock, was that the code?
Yes, that was the tap code we used in Hanoi. I actually shortened it to GBU, which we used as a double meaning to God bless you, meaning the person we're tapping through, and God bless the USA.
And how would you use the code when in prison?
It was often we were solo, alone for months on end, some for years. And so the only way we had to communicate was tapping on the wall. We could change the code into coughs and sweeping of a broom or anything that made a noise, but generally we tapped. And we did it in a method I showed you. And when the governor mentioned our visit to the Wright Pat Museum and they have a display of the code, I thought it was fitting to maybe end in something that was very meaningful to us. We never forgot our country and our God, and we'd always sign off with GBU, and we still do it in letters and emails to each other to this day.
And was the code basically meant to let each other know that you were there, or was it to offer encouragement?
All the above. We even used it to teach each other. We called Hanoi facts sometimes. We didn't always know the answer, but we said we did. But yes, so that no one was left behind. And I saw Tracy's dad had that pin on his jacket today. It's so meaningful to our U.S. Armed Forces that we don't leave anybody behind. Even when they were trying to rescue me before I was captured, there was a pilot killed, flew into a mountain trying to get down below the clouds to rescue me. And this is the history of our military and our country, that we don't leave people behind. So GBU.
So Jim, the cells were very, very small, and it was not, as the Colonel tells me, it was not unusual to be visited with rats that would curl up with you, and you'd actually let them do it to stay warm. And you tap on the cell, the guy next to and the guy next to. Now, of course, if you got caught tapping, they'd take you out and beat you within an inch of your life. And Colonel had been beaten so severely, there were times where he just didn't know if he was going to be able to live. And he tells us a story of one North Vietnamese that basically, you want to tell him about the man that basically saved your life?
There was a guard that was just doing his duty day to day instead of adding his own personal vengeance, and we liked him, we loved him really. And one night after a particularly grueling session that had really gone on for over a week, they tied me so tightly.
Grueling session means they beat him with their fists and with any other object, and twisted his arm, and broke bones, and that's what these sessions were about.
Well, it was getting pretty rough, and they had tied my arms so tightly that they were starting to turn dark from the lack of circulation, and had it stayed that way, I would have lost my arms, and then I just would have disappeared. And the guard, we called him Mark, and that's a story in itself, came in the middle of the night, and he reached down and loosened the arms that were tied above my elbows, and then gave me a shush sign and walked out. He did so at the risk of his own life.
So we have a lot of people here. Anybody want to say anything about, short, what you remember, or anything you'd like to reflect on today? Huh? Don't be shy.
Yeah, I'd just like to say on behalf, many of our brothers have passed on in the last 4 years. So in a way, this is sort of a memory for us to keep of them. So we appreciate that.
Yes.
I've warned that ever since I've come back from Vietnam. He died flying close air support for my unit in Vietnam, and he never came home, and they never acknowledged that they captured him. He was shot down in an airplane. Like to have that. Like to have that.
Well, it's an honor. Captain Ariel Cross, 7/17/1968. Who else would like to say something?
Ken, since we're...
Yes, sir.
Thank you to the Kasich administration, the Ohio General Assembly for this gracious day. I feel that this is not about me, this is about all you. And what a blessing it was to serve my country in the United States of America, to protect each and every one of you. Thank you, Governor Kasich. Welcome.
Governor, I'd like to just point out that Tom Burke, who just handed you that pin. Tom, standing behind you, leads the Vietnam veterans in Ohio and has been a great friend and supporter of this whole issue all along.
I think this is a great day for Vietnam veterans in this state. We have waited a long time for this. And I believe that the governor, the senator, the people in the State House, especially Colonel Moe, these are great times for us to finally say to the Vietnam veterans in the state of Ohio, welcome home.
I wore this ever since I came home. Staff Sergeant Kappa come up missing in 1965 in Vietnam. And nothing has ever been said of his whereabouts or findings. I talked to JPAC, and they don't have anything on it at all. So I'd like for you to have it.
Boy, oh boy. Colonel, you have to work with me.
On behalf of the Vietnam Veterans America, I'd like to take this sticker. That is our founding motto.
Put it on my car. Would that be all right? Okay, thank you. Beautiful. You better give one of these to Wagoner too. This is fantastic. You know, I think that I think next year we need to plan this a little bit better, Colonel. So maybe we could get a little flyover or something here. This now means that we will honor the Vietnam veterans forever in Ohio. Isn't that fantastic? And Mark Wagoner, thank you, Mark, for what you did in getting this through. But we need to make sure that we don't let this day just become another day, another mark on the calendar. So we'll get something special for next year. All right.
Governor?
Yes, sir.
I want to thank you for this and state legislature. But let's not forget not our brothers and sisters, but our sons and daughters who will be coming home from the current wars and the future wars. Let's remember them also.
Yes, yes. And think how long it took for people to recognize the stress that are returning veterans. I mean, how all those years it just had not been recognized is inconceivable, right? But now we're making great progress on that.
Yes, sir.
And it's great to have,
Sir,
yes.
I'd like to present to you this proud supporter of combat wounded veterans, and we'll pass them out by the thousands, and would like you to have it tomorrow. And
My daughters will want to know what it is.
since I'm the adjutant of the Purple Heart, I'd like to request if we could have a pen to take to our chapter. We're the ones that's got the bill in.
First one that asks. You know what my mother said, if you don't ask, they can't say no, or they can't say yes, is what she'd say.
I'd just like to say one more thing. This moment reminds me, 1965, 66, when I came off a ship from coming back from overseas. I walked off a base in North Island, and I walked out the gate, and I had my uniform on. There were people outside that gate that were protesters. They were protesting at the time. They spit on my uniform. I mean, literally spit at me. And I was so shocked. I didn't know whether to beat the guy up or walk away. Well, I wound up walking away. And I think of that instance today. And I think of how far we have come. This nation has finally realized that our guys did a job. And they did what they had to do. And I'm so glad to be standing here today.
And we'll make sure you get one. The colonel's in charge because I'm not making it. And just so all of you know what this room's about. I don't really work in here very often. This is kind of reserved for special occasions. But right where this gentleman is standing, sitting right there, many years ago, was Abraham Lincoln. And the governor of Ohio, Salmon Chase, is sitting right about here. And Lincoln came 3 times, is my understanding. The first time he came, he made a real long speech, and nobody kind of cared for him. The second time he came, there were throngs and masses that welcomed him. Sitting in this office, right there at the corner of that desk, a messenger came in the door and said that the U.S. House of Representatives had accepted the Electoral College results, which was not going to be anticipated in as calm a way as what happened. And the messenger said, "Mr. Lincoln, you're now the President of the United States," right here in this office. And right over here is a bust of Salmon Chase. Salmon Chase, who ran against Lincoln, became the Secretary of the Treasury, and he became the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. And of course, right over here is the bust of Abraham Lincoln. And when you think about suffering and pain, think about those days with Abraham Lincoln and the reports from the battlefield what he had to go through to sacrifice, it's a pretty remarkable story. So I think it's really fitting for all the veterans to be in this room today, to really celebrate, to celebrate what you've achieved, and to also to recognize the great sacrifice that you made. So God bless you all. Thank you.